Elliot's on the run. Angela's a black hat. The full force of the Dark Army is here. We're going to talk about it all with the creator of Mr. Robot, Sam Esmail. This is a special edition of the Mr. Robot Digital After Show hosted by The Verge. Hey everybody, this is Mr. Robot Digital After Show hosted by The Verge. I'm Nilay Patel. I'm the editor-in-chief of The Verge, joined as always by Megan Farokmanesh.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going really well. How are you?
Oh, I'm so excited. That was such a good episode.
Russell Brandon is here.
We're hacking the HSM. We're doing it.
It's all going to happen. Let's not wait any longer. The man himself is here, Sam Esmail. How's it going, Sam?
How you doing, man?
I am doing great. You can't see them, but Megan and Russell are also here. They're very excited.
Hello.
Hi. Let's talk about this episode. It's a crazy episode. One continuous shot.
It looked like, yeah.
Like, did you actually do it as one continuous shot?
No, that would have been impossible because there was a combination of locations and sets. That really was sort of informed by what we wanted Elliot to go through in this sort of realization, this kind of realization moment at the beginning of the episode. You know, we wanted to kind of experience what he would experience in those first moments of switching from Mr. Robot back to Elliot.
It also gets really more surreal with the Angela segments, right? The shot over the top.
That felt so weird to see because it's like we're going to fall off the building or it's like we're in the ceiling.
Yeah.
Right. What was that choice about?
You know, that was really motivated by the fact that I really wanted to put Angela in perspective as to what she was doing. She's doing something important, but in that frame where we go off the building, she's really a small part of that picture.
Yeah.
So I have a couple questions here from Reddit. Is Tyrell in love with Elliot?
Or Robot?
Or Robot?
Which one is it? I think that's the question.
Well, first of all, yes, Tyrell's in love with Elliot. Yeah, I think he's in love with both. And by the way, Elliot is sort of both, you know? And that's sort of what we're trying to show. They're both very attractive men. So,
Wait, talk about that overlap a little bit. When you say Elliot and Robot are the same, are they going to start coming together, or are you keeping them separate?
well, you'll start to see that Elliot, I mean, we show it at the beginning of episode 2. Elliot misses Mr. Robot, and that's sort of what the evolution of this relationship and the stage that we're taking him into this season was to show that Elliot doesn't really, as much as he fought with him in the second season and tried to annihilate him, that's not the answer, nor is it what he really wants. And he's sort of learning that this season, that there is a part of them that yearns for that relationship, and that's part of the reason why Mr. Robot existed in the first place.
I gotta ask, is there something that fans, that we should be looking for that we're missing?
There's one thing that people haven't guessed yet that I was kind of surprised by, because again, I think we tend to really foreshadow our twists so that the reveals don't feel out of nowhere and gimmicky. And it is going to come to pass this season. I'm not going to obviously spoil it right now.
Oh, come on.
As I lurk on Reddit, I have noticed that I think people have started to realize what that is. So
Sam Esmail lurking on Reddit, confirmed by that.
Yeah.
That's important. All right, Sam, I got to stop you for 1 second. We're going to take a quick break. If you're watching this on USA, just jump over to Facebook Live. We're going to continue this conversation. We do this show every week online. It's the Mr. Robot Digital After Show, hosted by The Verge. We'd love to see you there every week. If you're watching online, hold on 1 second. End transmission on USA. For those of you who are already watching this online, let's just wait for them. Okay, I think they're here. Let's keep going.
Great.
Okay.
Awesome.
When we were hearing about the show before we started production of our show, we were always told episode 5 is the craziest one, and it delivered. What was the hardest part of making that work?
You know, the interesting thing about it, and it was the hard thing, but you know, it was something that I think everybody rose to the occasion and wanted to take on the challenge. So it was actually kind of hard, but at the same time fun. Was the choreography? You know, it was kind of this weird, interesting dance between the cast and the camera operator, and the location and the limitations of the locations. Our production designer was sort of heavily involved. And our cinematographer, you know, in terms of lighting it, it's very tricky because there's not a lot of places to hide lights. So that was kind of maybe the hardest part, was coordinating all those different departments to be kind of be choreographed in this dance together. But it was also the most fun.
Yeah, it's interesting to me as I was watching it. You really highlighted the fact that this was all sort of happening in real time. Is there another reason you went with the continuous shot idea?
Well, the initial incarnation, just in terms of from a storytelling perspective, was we just thought there was something really interesting about that. So the real-time aspect was there from the get-go. That's kind of different than the long take aspect, right? Because there have been movies, you know, or shows like 24, or, you know, I always reference Nick of Time, which is this old 80s.
I love Nick of Time. Christopher Walken with the big gun. That's so good.
A fan. But they're not long takes, right? They're real time, but they're edited. And so when Todd and I started talking about the episode, as we broke down every scene, we realized that there probably is something a lot more visceral about keeping it seamless, but in a way that really kept us with Elliot and what he was going through. And then there was talk about, well, maybe we'll do the one cut when we shift POVs, because really the episode is kind of about two stories. It's Elliot and his realization of who's been betraying him, but then it's Angela doing the actual betraying.
We had Portia on the show, the first after show. She was great, and she was saying, you know, she's really excited about how her character has changed. But you obviously write the character. How are you thinking about just how different she's become?
Well, but the thing that I will say about Angela is that she probably changes the most out of everyone. Her arc is probably the most, I would say the deepest, because her sort of kind of yang to Elliot's, like Elliot's sort of our center and our core and our sort of where we always kind of go back to. But Angela kind of does this weird circular thing around him. And it's just an interesting dynamic that Portia, I give a lot of credit to her, that Portia kind of informed me that we should, you know, that we can take this character on this kind of more, roller coaster journey.
Yeah, so one of the other really interesting things about the third season is we're really starting to feel how far back in time it is. You know, it's set in 2015. A lot's happened since 2015, and it keeps sort of popping up in these interesting ways, sort of independent of, you know, obviously all this stuff has happened in the Mr. Robot universe that doesn't, you know, hasn't been happening in the actual universe. But I'm curious, how do you think about that?
Well, you know, I honestly try not to think about it. We don't really do anything like Hack of the Weeks. We don't try and, you know, rip from the headlines.
Deep cut.
I mean that from, you know, a current events thing. You know, our show isn't procedural in that way. But the one thing that we do as writers, and I think just in general as the cast and crew, we can't help but bring ourselves into what we create. And that, honestly, I think that's the way to be true to what you're creating is taking what you're feeling, what your world is. And because this show was meant to be sort of a period piece about where we are today, even though technically it's still 2015. And the thing about what happened last year, you know, the Trump election, you know, obviously a tragic thing that happened, not just for the country, but for the world. And there was a lot of overlap in terms of how we felt in the writer's room with what Elliot was going through kicking off this season. That we were indirectly responsible for this sort of catastrophic event. Whether obviously none of us voted for him, but did we not speak up? Were we not activist enough? You know, there was all this guilt and this remorse and looking at the world as sort of a more unreliable, chaotic world, and we couldn't help but say we've got to bring this into the show because, again, it seemed to seamlessly overlap with what Elliot was doing.
No, but here's the thing. The world of Mr. Robot is more comforting than reality because White Rose has a plan, right? Like, all these bad things are going to happen, but White Rose is like, don't worry, Like all the pieces are falling into place. There's no white rose in our world. Like, do you if there was a white rose, and I'm like, definitely that person has some master plan, and like these things has to happen, and I can join this dark army cult situation. Cool. I'd be like, I'm in. Sign me up. Love hacking. This is great.
Love to hack.
Are you thinking about that at all? That you've created a world in which there is a master plan.
No, it's scary to think that our psychotic, murderous, villain in our world is a better option than the guy in Office. There's no safety there. Our reality has in a lot of ways become as unreliable as Elliot's narration.
Yeah. How are you layering the protest narrative of right now into the protest element of the show?
Everyone!
The idea that the revolution / protest, the F Society movement in Mr. Robot was going to be co-opted, essentially by the people that they're trying to take down, was always there from the get-go. Because this is what this season's really about. It's showing how there were strings behind everything that Elliot and his movement was all about, and showing the co-op, and it kind of plays out specifically in this episode. I believe Core, who was one of the writers of this episode, he was in. I think he was at the terminal where they were doing the Muslim ban protests, and there was just this sense that things were being hijacked from us. That even our protest was being kind of controlled and back-ended by Trump and sort of his cohorts. It was demoralizing, but at the same time, it was that weird sensation that we felt often in making this show, that we do have this weird symbiotic nature with what's going on in current events, even though the timeline's shifted.
Are you gonna layer? So obviously there was the one moment where White Rose was looking at Trump and saying, "This is an opportunity." Or was that a call out? Was that you just putting your middle finger in the air? Or is that something you structured the show around?
And we never try and do anything for showmanship or just to throw in digs. It's always got to be related to what the story is about. And because this season is really about showing sort of the puppet strings behind all of this. And look, Trump, whether you're, however you want to believe it, what you want to believe with him. Clearly, there's strong evidence to show that there were people behind his campaign that were pulling strings, and there were some foreign governments that were at play there. And we just thought it was kind of a perfect match to show White Rose literally say that line about somebody else. But again, overall thematically, it worked for what we're trying to say about the season.
So I want to pull back a little bit and ask about fans of the show. I think that the Mr. Robot community is interesting or just the show in general is interesting because it has this really robust experience for fans of the show. And so I'm curious, when you guys were deciding, let's do an ARG, walk me through that process of how you picked what exactly you were going to do and how you moved forward.
And this was sort of inspired by Lost. I'm a huge Lost fan, one of my favorite TV shows. And one of the things that really excited me about Lost, it was very different from any other movie or TV show I'd watched prior, was that after an episode of Lost, I would argue with my friends about it, and we would come up with different wild theories, and we would go online, and I would argue with people online about it, and then Lost, the creators of Lost, would also release things, like the Dharma Initiative website that just further engage. And I really call Lost, that experience at least, was the first, if there's ever going to be sort of an interactive entertainment or interactive storytelling, that was kind of the first, because it was that weird panoramic storytelling view that Lost introduced that really inspired me with Mr. Robot. And so the ARG sort of kind of fit that mold and allowed us to sort of expand that engagement. And it's like, because I think Lost, in a weird way, sort of discovered that along the way. And since we have the benefit of hindsight, seeing how well it worked in Lost, we kicked off the show with that in mind.
You also have the benefit of knowing how Lost ended and being able to move in a different direction.
I mean, it seems like a risky move, though, starting off with that right away. Why make that choice up front?
I think, I will be honest with you, I think we were just stupid. I mean, we had no idea. Honestly, there was a weird carelessness, I think, in the first season. I just remember just, looking around at the writers and at the crew and saying, if we're going to do this, let's just jump in, with both feet and do it. And if we fail, we fail. And I think we just stupidly took the risk and hoped for the best.
So I have a couple questions here from Reddit that I would like to ask you.
Possible Russian agents.
Possible Russian agents. They all have really good names, too.
Intel that we'd like to feed into the show right now.
Intimidating Afro, with great name, asks, if you could be any character in the show, who would you be and why?
Well, I always get asked that question, and look at me. I'm clearly Elliot.
You're Elliot, yes.
Put up the hoodie, dude. Come on, let's see it.
Put the hoodie up.
Put it up.
Here we go.
There it is.
Perfect.
But I'll tell you, the one of my favorite characters is Shayla, and I think that had a lot to do with not that I want to be her, Frankie Shaw, who's one of my favorite people, just performed that character brilliantly, and probably who I want to actually live through is Leon, because I love Joey Badass. So I guess in a roundabout way, those are my kind of three top choices.
Well, so actually, I was wondering about that because, I'm curious how your relationship with Rami has changed over the course of that. Just because it's such, part of what we're seeing each week is this intense collaboration over, like, the central character of the show.
Well, Rami and I, honestly, it's like we're brothers. I mean, our moms talk to each other now. We're very, he was at my wedding, and I we're both Egyptian. Our fathers passed away, about around the same time, and working on this show, it gets intensely close. You have to be in order to really dig deep and kind of unpack a lot of what Elliot's going through. I mean, Elliot is not an easy guy to crack.
I want to ask, do you have like a favorite Rami story you could share with us from the set?
He's such a. I feel like he's done that. He's probably told this story already, but I believe with Carly during the first season, he found out that she was into gummy bears, and then he sort of outfitted her entire trailer with gummy bears.
Yeah, Carly told us the set's almost like a comedy shoot, which is, when you watch the show,
really
it's
is.
not at all what you expect.
Really
So
shows.
I want to follow up on Christian Slater just for 1 second. I think I bring this up in every episode of the After Show.
Oh, God.
I have a long-running theory that Christian Slater's, that robot, is just his character from Pump Up the Volume grown up. Is that true?
Pump Up the Volume is a great movie. It's
See?
one of those movies.
Vindicated.
On my VHS.
Yeah.
I watched it a number of times and ruined a bunch of VHS tapes with how many times I watched it. Look, I think in a roundabout way, it was 100% inspired, not just by that character, but also the Heather's character. So I'll leave it at that. How about
Nele's
that?
going to be intolerable for now.
Yeah.
I've won. I have so little ambition left now. I got nothing left to prove. Well, Sam, as you know, by the way, thank you again for your time.
Oh, yeah.
Love having you here. As you know, Russell does a segment about your procedural Hack of the Week show every week. I would love it if you could introduce that segment. It's called The Hack Report. If you could just say it's time for The Hack Report, I think I would just be personally thrilled.
It's time for the Hack Report.
There's that sound. All right. Thank you so much for indulging us, Sam Esmail. Thank you so much for being on the show. We could go forever. Like, I have pages and pages of questions to ask you, but it's been super fun talking to you. So thanks, man.
Thank you. This was a blast. Thank you for having me.
Oh, man, Sam was great.
Sam was a lot friendlier than I expected, considering how dark and creepy the show is.
Yeah.
He's like so jovial and happy.
Yeah,
I thought you'd be more tormented.
Exactly, yeah.
I definitely thought he was going to yell at us.
He might be more tormented than he came across in the interview, though. You never know.
He was super friendly. It was really great to talk to him. All right, but you heard the man, Russell. It's time for the Hack Report.
Hack report. Oh, I love it. Okay.
Wait.
Yeah.
Hack Report.
Oh, it's so good. Okay.
Never gets old.
So there was like one huge hack that took most of the episode. Angela breaks in and gets the firmware signing keys from the HSM, also known as a hardware security module.
Okay.
I'm going to explain what all of those words mean.
That's a lot of words, man.
But let's take a look at the clip.
Yeah.
Let's watch it happen. So first of all, that song is my jam.
That song is creepy circus music.
Okay, so what the hell is she doing?
Yeah.
Let's zoom way, way, way out. Okay,
Yeah.
so Elliot did a bunch of stuff to stop stage 2. One was all the shipping stuff to make sure the records weren't going to be in the building, which it seems like Angela took care of last episode. She was like, we'll rush ship it. It's fine.
Yeah.
The other thing he did was they were going to hack into these batteries and get the batteries to explode, and that was going to blow up the building. And he reprogrammed the batteries. So the way that they were going to hack them didn't work. And actually, early in the episode, he says when he's first discovering that something's wrong, the Dark Army tried to do this at 6:26 a.m. and it didn't work because he had done the software. So now what the Dark Army wants to do is basically put the old software back so that the old hack works again, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the firmware. That's what they're doing. They're putting the old vulnerable software
They're
back.
flashing all the routers in the building.
Don't say that. That's terrible. No, they're not doing that. Ignore what this man just said. Okay, so
I'm just trying to make it relatable.
you can't just put software on a device like that. They can't have anyone walking up hacking stuff. You need the keys to say, we are actually the owner of this device, like we authorize this software, right? And this is a thing that happens when you're a company and you were worried about getting hacked. You deal with the key architecture, which he sort of mentions. So, okay, where did the keys that you use to sign that live? Most keys in an enterprise situation like that will live in some hardened server that is a hardware security module that is the HSM. So the whole point of having that is you have the keys, you can use them, but you can't get into them digitally. You just sort of send something to the HSM and it sends you back like having done whatever it needed the keys to do.
Yeah.
So, but you want to be able to get the keys out if like the building's going to collapse or something, or the machine is breaking. So you have to physically go there and back it up, and it's really hard. You have to kind of do a bunch of stuff to prove you're the person, and that's basically what Angela is doing here. She's getting the keys off of the hardware security module so that they can reinstall the software. Now, they haven't reinstalled the software yet, so she gave the USB drive to the weird hamburger guy.
Delivery.
Yeah. So presumably the Dark Army is then whisking that away to sign some firmware to redeploy. But they have themselves much hacking still to do before stage 2 can come to fruition.
God, this is exhausting.
There's a lot. So they've got the keys off the thing.
Yeah.
Why is the thing alone in a room? Because they talked about the air-gapped HSM a lot.
Well, it's more dramatic that way.
Okay, that's right. So she gets the keys, they get the keys, they sign their own custom firmware.
Yeah.
And then they just like force update everyone to iOS 11.
I mean, all the batteries in the big building it's about to explode. Yeah.
Okay, so all the UPS devices.
We're going to have like a big Indiana Jones thing where some guy's sticking the USB in all the, I mean, who knows? I don't know. We have to ask Sam, but there's something like that has to happen plot-wise before the batteries can blow up.
Wow, that is a very complicated hack.
Oh yeah, so the other thing is there's a couple hacker names throughout the episode that they slipped in. I'm not going to name all of them, so keep looking, but one of them was Moxie Marlinspike is one of the sort of call signs they use. That is the heroic developer of Signal, which an encrypted chat app that we use at The Verge all the time. And then also Dave Kennedy is who Elliot says he is when he busts into that meeting, and that is a real-life hacker who helped core with the show, I believe, and I follow on Twitter. He's a great follow.
Yeah.
Check him out.
All right. It is time, I think, for the most important question that we ask here.
I had this question that seemed unanswered.
And it is, what does it all mean?
What does it all mean?
What does it all mean?
Oh my God. Wow, there's a sound effect
Yes.
now.
Wait. What does it all mean?
What does it all mean?
Wow, this person actually sounds like really perplexed.
This is great.
Okay. Oh, wow.
If there's one
Man,
thing the
I'm
show is
so
good for,
honored to finally have my own sound clip.
it's
Thank
giving
you,
us
everyone.
sound effects.
Thank you. So we're halfway through
Yeah.
the season, which is like kind of bonkers to think about. But not only that, we're at stage 2,
Yeah.
basically. So we talked about stage 2 a lot at the beginning of the season, but I wanted to open this up to the fans and see how they're feeling about it. You were for stage. No, you were
I'm
against.
anti-stage
You were against it. I mean, Russell.
I was
for.
pro stage 2. Listen, no half measures.
Exactly. No, here's the thing. A lot of the fans are not for it. So
Really?
we are the lone psychopaths, I guess. So I have a couple responses here from our Reddit, from Yipsy Fact 48. So they said that throughout season 2, we've seen the damage 5'9" has done to normal people all over the U.S., and we've seen thousands of people living on the streets or in the subways every episode in season 3. Taking down Ecor sounds awesome, but 5'9" literally destroyed millions of lives. One can only imagine what the cost would be from finishing the job. Which is honestly a good point, because I haven't really been thinking about the little guy, the normal human out there just living their life, which is essentially us.
You got to break a few eggs.
You got sometimes
Sorry.
you got to send the price of apples to 400 eCoin.
eCoin, yeah.
It's just that's where
Listen,
the
they should have
revolution
gotten in on eCoin at the ground floor.
So we also have somebody who is for stage 2. They're for it because they say it's going to be total madness, which doesn't reflect well on us in terms of who's arguing.
Accurate, though. It will be total.
You want total madness.
Well, I'm just saying, you get what you pay for.
So here, we were talking about this, Sam. At this point, I'm for stage 2.
Oh, you've
Wow.
Switching. I'm officially switching because I would rather live in a world where White Rose is in charge.
Okay.
And so, like, if you're going to be in that world, he's got to complete his plan. It's a bit dastardly.
It's extremely dastardly.
It's like pretty murdery.
Yeah, but they're doing it. So, like,
Okay.
let's just move along. And compared to our world, where there's obviously no plan.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm saying in real world, anti-stage 2.
Okay.
In the White Rose universe,
Okay.
sign me up. I'm in. Dark
Okay,
Army
let
all
the
way.
world burn. So we also asked,
Well,
we also asked
one
people,
building. All right.
Yeah.
We also asked people who their favorite character to watch this season was. And I'm actually kind of surprised because the answer was overwhelmingly Darlene. People are really rooting for her. Yeah, they like the duo between Elliot and Darlene, but also they just like that Darlene has been a really relatable character this season because she's actually opening up to people and has feelings and emotions, unlike people like Angela who've kind of just gone off the deep end into, Dark Army cult territory.
I mean, she's definitely the most relatable person.
Yeah.
Person, because Flipper is still
Flipper's
in
a-
there.
Well,
yeah.
Flipper, is a happy dog.
I mean, who among us has not bought a military jacket and then found themselves in command of a hacker army and then questioned that choice?
You just backtrack that. It's fine. She murdered somebody last season. It's fine.
All right. So speaking of Darlene, she pops up at the end of the episode, and I think this is just to bring it all full circle. This is only like half a day. We were talking with Sam. This episode is running in real time, so we're only like halfway through this. I think a thing that is very difficult to know is what is stage 2. Like if you're just watching this episode, you might think Angela has accomplished stage 2.
This was just stage 1.5.
Right, like all she's done is give the Dark Army the ability to do stage 2, which is knocking down the building by reflashing firmware and then exploding some UPS batteries.
And it's like not even lunchtime.
Yeah, so I think it's just, to me, the big question marks now are like, does it happen? And then what happens? And it appears that today is the day that White Rose said, we're going to knock, there's the UN vote, we're going to knock down the building. It's all happening today. So I think this episode just ends on like the ultimate cliffhanger, which is, okay, now the thing that we've been working towards this whole season is going to happen.
Well, and so Elliot had spent all this time, we got that big montage. He made all these plans. He installed himself at E-Corp and sort of did all the stuff to prevent stage 2 from happening. Seemed pretty fine about it. All that is out the window.
Yeah.
Angela had this whole deception of controlling him while secretly working for the Dark Army. All that is gone. He now knows what's up. We see him at the end of the episode confronting her. So now, what does he do to stop stage 2? All of the setup that we had up until now is basically swept away. Does he even still want to stop stage 2?
Yeah, and that conflict, he loves robot.
He does. He hates capitalism. Just saying.
Classic t-shirt slogan right there.
Well, even in terms of Darlene, she popped up at the beginning of this episode, which was surprising because at the end of last episode, it seems like she was saying goodbye. She left that photo. There was that sad Elliot Smith song. And then she's just like, hey, also I'm working for the FBI. sorry. And it's kind of a weird moment because it just feels like unexpected. Like I really expected her to just like scuttle on out of here.
Yeah.
But it also doesn't bode well for her, I think. Yeah, like she's come clean about a lot of stuff, but how much does White Rose actually need Elliot or Darlene at this point? Because it seems like they were keeping Darlene alive so Elliot would work with them, but once stage 2 is completed, I think White Rose is going to be done with them.
And White Rose has explicitly said this about Elliot.
Yeah, then,
already.
you know, he can die for us like his father did, which is not looking great for our
And even if they
heroes.
stop stage 2, White Rose will be even more angry and presumably murderous.
I will say that once his task is completed, he can die for me just like his father is a phrase that I will start using more and more often as time goes by because it really puts a cap on any situation. just really lands right there. Okay, unfortunately, we're out of time this week on the Mr. Robot Digital After Show. Thank you very much to Sam Esmail for joining us. That was an amazing conversation. Really exciting news. Next week, Martin Wallstrom, who plays Tyrell, is going to join us.
Love Tyrell.
We're going to make him chop wood.
We'll become gods together.
That is optional. The chopping wood is not optional. Mr. Robot airs on USA Network Wednesdays at 10 p.m. We are on right afterwards on all your favorite digital platforms. So come find us, join us, tweet at us. We love it so much. Thank you so much for watching. And when this is done, you can die just like your father.